backfield. Lynch will take the snap. Out to the left side. Jordan's going to run it. Looking for the pylons. Got it. Touchdown, Huskies.
Welcome everyone to today's presentation of the 2020 Virtual Victor E Bash. I am Donna Turner, Associate Athletic Director for Communications at NIU, and we have with us today two great panelists and guests, and joined by Associate Vice President and Director of Athletics, Frazier, along with, of course, the great Jordan Lynch. And we're going to talk about the Heisman Trophy experience back in 2013. Can't wait to get that started. We're going to do that in just a minute, but I do want to remind everyone about the silent auction going on at victorebash.givesmart.com. We have some great items. We have helmets, we have jerseys you can purchase, we have bidding for items, signed items by Jordan Lynch and some of our other great Huskies and NFL players. So head on over there, check that out. Donate, support student athletes and NIU athletics. We appreciate every one of you, and we appreciate everyone who's here today. And we also want this to be interactive, so please send us your questions on the YouTube chat stream, and we will work those into today's discussion. I'm excited to do that. One other note that the compliance department has asked me to provide is that we're going to keep this NIU focused. And I mean, we could throw in some CFL. We know Jordan's doing great in his current position where he is, and we're very proud of him. He'll always be a Husky. And but we got to keep this to NIU and the CFL per our compliance department. So appreciate everyone. And again, we will get to as many of your questions as we can. Thanks for being with us, Sean. I'm excited for tonight. I know you are too.
I am. This is fantastic. You know, when you have a legend, you know, a living legend on the panel, you know, you just got to say, you know, it's interesting because Jordan has so much of his story written, right? So it's out there. But at the end of the day, you know, Jordan himself is a leader. What he's been able to do in his career, in his professional life, and for him to be able to get back to NIU is pretty special. So, Jordan, I love the fact that you're giving back, but more importantly, I really appreciate what you have done for NIU. So thank you so much, my brother.
No, thank you guys, Donna and Sean. Thanks for having me today. You know, it feels great. You know, it feels great to, you know, it's going to feel great to talk about some NIU, you know, old stories and kind of, you know, where it all started. But like I said earlier to you guys, you know, it's NIU is the first school to believe in me and give me a chance. So whatever I can do to, you know, give back to NIU and help it out and, you know, share some memories together. You know, I'm grateful for this opportunity. So thanks for having me, guys.
No, we definitely appreciate you. And, you know, let's talk about it. Let's relive that magical 2013 moment. And obviously we had a lot of moments. You had a ton of moments here at NIU, and we can't ever forget that. I've got my Orange Bowl pendant on tonight. So that was one great moment. But we're going to talk about the Heisman, because people don't know what goes on during that event, and I think people will be really interested to find out just some of the behind the scenes things that happened, and especially all the memories that we have of it. But let's start with Jordan. When you first came to NIU, did you ever imagine yourself on that stage?
Man, it's you know, I never thought about any, you know, personal accolades themselves. I always thought everything about the team. And, you know, I was coming to NIU. I was one of the, you know, first kids to commit in my class. And I just wanted, you know, I wanted to make the team, and I wanted to, you know, find a way to, you know, be a starter and get on the field. And, you know, I ended up being, you know, 6th or 7th on the depth chart as a quarterback. You know, and I went through some dark moments early on, you know, as a freshman, as a true freshman. You know, the thing is, I always tell my kids now, you know, keep grinding, keep chipping away. You never know where you're going to end up, being later on in the depth chart, and things like that. Just keep grinding away. And I was fortunate, Coach Kill recruited me and ended up giving me that first scholarship. And, you know, I just kept, you know, chipping away. I got moved to safety the first week. And like I said, there were definitely some dark days, but I kept working, I kept grinding. I figured out, you know, what it took to be a student athlete. I took care things in the classroom. And before you know, redshirt freshman year, I ended up, being number 2 behind Chandler Harnish on the depth chart for quarterbacks. And I was getting some package plays, this or that. And, it was Coach Kill left, Coach Doran came in, and, Matt Canada was our offensive coordinator. And man, you talk about a quarterback driven offense, with, myself with the ball in my hands every single play and running the ball downhill, 25 to 30 times a game and throwing it 35 times a game. It sets you up for success. And, I'd be a fool not to talk about the playmakers around me too, with all those guys. All you got to do is, flick the ball off to Tommy Lee Lewis or hand the ball off to Cam Stingley, Deron Brown and Martell Moore. There's been tons of players that kind of go unnoticed. But those guys are, the reason why, we're able to launch that Heisman campaign my senior year. So I had a lot of great teammates, a lot of great coaches that kind of helped me out along the way.
Definitely. It was obviously a magical season, and we won those huge games up front and continued it and put you on the stage of MACtion and had some Heisman moments during that time with all the spotlight on us that enabled us to get to that point. And then obviously the Heisman call comes the Monday after the MAC championship game, which we'll skip over that part. But how did you find out? How did you get the call?
Yeah, from what I remember, you're supposed to get the call at I want to say 6 p.m. right, that Monday night or so. And I remember, people ask me, if you do make the Heisman, ceremony, who's the number 1 player you want to meet, this or that. And I was watching the ESPN's 30 for 30. And on that time, it was Bo Jackson. Bo knows the 30 for 30 came on and fell in love with them. Obviously I wasn't old enough to kind of watch Bo, go through his thing back in the day. So I watched the 30 for 30, absolutely fell in love with it. So I told the Heisman committee or whoever reached out to me, maybe it was you, Donna, I told, Bo Jackson, that's who I want to meet, this or that. So the phone call is supposed to come in around 6 o'clock. I get a call at, 5:50, and, I'm getting all excited, and I hear the first words is, I could have sworn he said, this is Coach Jackson. And he starts talking. I'm thinking of all the coaches that coached me, named Coach Jackson. And I think of Mount Carmel, my sophomore year basketball, Coach Jackson, our bench coach. And I'm like, why the hell is he calling me? And here I am just sitting on the phone, just kind of moving the phone as I talk to him, come on, pick it up, this or that. And he ends up, 10 minutes in the conversation, he starts talking about Auburn and the things he'd done. And, and I realized, I'm like, wait, this is Bo Jackson. This ain't Coach Jackson, So I started giving him my interest right off the bat. And, Bo Jackson gave me, a lot of great advice. We had a lot of great words. We communicated, and he wasn't, ended up being at the ceremony or anything like that. But I ended up, he actually, he told me to save his number as Uncle Bo in my phone book in case anyone got my phone and saw Bo Jackson, they would call him. But it's funny, I called this number about 2 years ago, and it was some old lady. So he already moved on, But that's kind of, how I knew that I was getting to the ceremony. I had Bo Jackson reach out to me and call me, which was a pretty special moment.
Wow. Sean, when did you find out? How did you learn of that we were going?
Well, it's interesting because I got a letter, Heisman Trust, and I knew a couple of guys there, and it's my first year, and it was interesting because they picked up the phone and said, "Hey, your kid Jordan Lynch is legitimate." I said, "Yes, he is," and he says, "Well, he's going to be invited as a finalist." And yes, he is. And we were having the conversation. So Jordan, I actually saved the letter that I had. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting because the conversation, I was in awe, had a chance to see a couple of Heisman Trophy candidates, but how they described you and how do they look at you as you being a leader and me just getting to know you at that time, right? I was able to fill in the blanks. They were shocked in the conversations I was having with them, setting up your visit and everything else, how much I was convinced that you were going to win this. There was no flinching. My guy's going to win. So let's start talking about all these other things that's going on, right? And so you're pretty confident. So, oh, yeah. Have you not seen Jordan Lynch play? Have you not seen, and we were bantering back and forth. And it was just great because they were talking about your humility. They were talking about your upbringing. They were talking about our style of play, what you've accomplished. And I was really proud. It was a proud Papa moment, but it was also a moment of respect. So, I've been in some different places. I'm not going to talk about them in a minute. I'm going to talk about NIU here. But I'm going to tell you, the level of respect that the Heisman Trust and the folks that were reviewing your credentials for this purest of football awards was significant, my friend. So you earned your ticket to New York.
Appreciate it.
God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was good. And that's when I knew it was interesting, because when we were talking to Coach Carey and talking to other folks, I would say, well, shit, it's real. Excuse my little slip there. But I will tell you that you can go in the legacy of folks that were invited to New York, and you've earned it the hard way. Simple as that. So God bless you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I remember, just to add on, just like you said, I remember talking to my dad, we're going to the Heisman ceremony, not just to be there and show our face. We're going, we wanted to win the thing. That's what we're there for, and it's a win regardless of being there, coming from the school, the smaller school that we were at, and putting, NIU back on the map. But we were going there to win it. That's for sure. And, when my name wasn't called, there was a slight disappointment.
Oh, yeah.
But no, and I never, Donna, I just want to say thank you to you and Joe Summons. Thank you for putting everything together my senior year. That doesn't go unnoticed to myself and my family. So you guys put a lot of hard work into it. So thank you.
I appreciate that, Jordan. It was a pleasure. You were always fun to work with. I mean, we had so much fun. You had a great attitude about it. It wasn't like I was pulling you along or forcing you to do things ever. It was, we had the lunch with Lynch, and we had the lunch bags, and
I still got my bag too.
Great.
And it really was a pleasure. I mean, we had fun. I thought we had fun. I hope you felt like some of it was fun. I know you love the football stuff the most. That was the best thing, but
right.
We ended up having some fun.
And that was a good thing, is I thought we planned it really well, because when it came to football time and being around the teammates, it was strictly football. On our days off on Mondays, that's when we would do the lunch for Lynch.
Yep.
And I remember approaching my teammates and asking them, in front of the team, is this something you guys are okay with launching this whole Heisman thing? And there's a lot of unselfish kids on the team, that everyone was bought in. The coaches were bought in. So, thank you guys. It was, it was definitely a year to remember. That's for sure.
No question.
Oh, believe me, when we got the call from the Heisman Trust people who kind of call us to say, hey, start looking at things, there was high-fiving, there was rejoicing.
Oh, yeah.
There was a lot of cheer, of jumping up and down going on in our office.
I can only imagine with Joe Summons what he was doing. I can only imagine.
He just looks at me and goes, how am I getting to New York? Am I getting to New York?
Right.
And that was the key thing that I wanted to be sure that he got to go on the trip with us, which we did end up being able to bring him along, which was awesome. But who did you call after you got that call from Bo Jackson, after you got that news? Who were the first people that you needed to share that with?
Man, it had to be my parents. And that's for everything they've been through, everything, they sacrificed sending me to a Catholic school, kind of my whole life, and sacrificing with all that. And it's, I can never thank them enough, for, give them that phone call and thank them that, kind of everything paid off, for trusting in me and sacrificing for me. Everything paid off. And, to get those guys to, get my parents to go to the ceremony itself, come from the south side of Chicago, that we don't wear suit and ties sometimes, we don't get dressed up for events like that. So, I remember my mom and my dad going out, picking out a nice outfit and, looking nice on TV. It's something, it's a gift that it was great to, give them. So.
There was a story that I was reviewing for this tonight, and I looked through some of the old clips and things. And there was a story that when you first tried to call them, no one would pick up the phone with the news.
Yeah, right. It's, I think I called, they're probably going to call me after this whole interview right now. Why would you say that? But I can still call my mother this day and she never picks up on the first call. It's always calling me back. But there's probably some truth to that. I would probably have to review myself, but there's definitely some truth to that.
So the week goes on, and obviously we're flying high. We're making plans to go to New York and everything like that. Do you remember like the plane and the flight and making the arrangements? Because Joe Summons reminded me we had the earliest flight to New York that you could have on that Friday morning. I think the flight left before 6.
Yeah, I just remember getting in, and we were the first people in the room, when we got to New York in the hotel, and we were waiting, I remember them saying like AJ McCarron's was, still 4 hours out or so. And here we are, just crushing the breakfast in the room. But once again, that's, my parents always liked to travel early, and they wanted to live this in. So they couldn't sleep the night before. I know they wanted the earliest flight, and, they wanted the last flight to leave. That's for sure. But, they, especially my dad, my dad lived that moment, those 2 or 3 days we were down there. And
we had to bring up your dad. Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't miss a beat. His phone ended up, I think dying out or going out on him for so many pictures that he took, believe it or not. It wouldn't work properly anymore. But I know my parents were stoked. They were pumped. It's such a great experience for them. You grow up watching it on TV, and you can only dream of ever being there. There's so many great players out in the country. And, like I said, I was fortunate for you guys to kind of run that whole Heisman campaign. And, we racked off 12 straight wins to start the season. It was kind of like the perfect storm going into it. So.
Joe's on the chat, and he is saying that had such a great experience with you that year from Detroit to New York. So he is tuning in, and so shout out to Joe, of course. He is asking, has someone bought you a pair of black dress shoes yet?
That's funny. So I was never a fan growing up of black shoes, so I always bought a brown, or not a brown, I always bought like a blue suit to go with. I always wore brown dress shoes, brown dress shoes, this or that. And so I don't own a black pair of dress shoes at all. It's always brown. I always have to make sure my suits match my brown shoes. But I did dip in a little bit to black gym shoes. So I'm starting to wear those a little bit, but they have to have some color in them. They just can't be all black, like the refereeing shoes Joe wears on the weekends with the Velcro.
And just so New York, it was your first time in New York, right?
Yeah, correct. Other than, going out to Buffalo and playing Buffalo out there,
New York City.
First time actually being out New York City, first time actually being out there and, spending some time and seeing the city itself. It was, I thought Chicago was big. You go to New York City, man, it's traffic here and there. The smell's definitely different. There was just to talk about, I guess, my experience a little bit getting down there. I want to say, was it Friday morning we left, Donna? Is that when we got in? Yeah. So we got there Friday morning, and man, they keep you busy. They keep you busy from start to finish when you got down there. And I remember kind of exploring the city and trying on different costumes on the walkway there. And I remember going out to an Italian restaurant and had some Italian food, some pasta, some sausage, some things like that. And the food kind of hit me a little bit different. And it was around 1 or 2, and we still had a whole day of events to go on. And I ended up getting caught with like a 12-hour or 24-hour, food poisoning. And I started throwing up just everywhere. And, my girlfriend at the time, Meg, who's now my wife, was, trying to take care of me. She ended up coming on the trip. And, I was thrown up in the hallway. I couldn't get out of bed. She was taking care of me. And the funny thing is, like I said, my dad did not miss a beat. And he took photos of me throwing up. He was doing, he was doing everything. And, they had the night event at the top level of the hotel. And I think it was like a dance floor and this or that. And you got to meet previous Heisman winners, and a lot of coaches came back. So my parents ended up going, and, my wife or my girlfriend, at the time, stayed back and took care of me in the room. But my dad was up there, and he showed me photos of what he was dancing with Steve Spurrier's wife. Like, he was getting down with her, he was all over the place. He's carrying Steve Spurrier on his shoulders. There's no one that had a better time than that guy.
Yeah, he has to be brought up because he probably took 1,000 pictures. There's not a Heisman winner in that room who he did not get a picture with.
That's true.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I kind of, that day, that Friday, I kind of killed my experience, a little bit with getting hit with the food poisoning. And, I woke up the next morning and I felt a lot better, to be honest with you. But, so I'm glad they got to still go out and enjoy their moment. That's for sure.
I mean, you did tough it out because I think we were getting ready to go on a bus.
On the tour bus?
On the tour bus of New York City. And yes, there was projectile vomiting.
Right. I remember
pictures of it.
Right. It's
but you still made the bus. You still made
I remember I got on the bus and I just put my head down the whole time, and we took pictures at Central Park, I believe, and got back on but I just, I put my head down and I slept. I tried to tough it out, but I'm the biggest baby when I get sick, so.
Sean, just to try to describe, you're a New Yorker, you're from that area, describe like the Marriott Marquis and the Times Square and just what that, if someone has never been there, how would you describe it, Sean?
Yeah, it's overwhelming. I go back, my kids are Midwestern kids now, right? So we go back. My wife is from Harlem. I'm from Queens. I'm actually not from Manhattan, where all that stuff goes down, but it's in the tri-state area, the five boroughs that make up New York. But it's majestic, right? It's Times Square, you see all kind of craziness. It's just a crazy atmosphere. And you're right. If you're not careful, Jordan, you can definitely get something and get you sick. So you got to watch that. Those vendors, especially those hot dog vendors, you got to, that's kind of hit and miss. I learned that early on as a young man. But I will say that it's a great melting pot. And, it all happens in New York, right? It's one of those mega cities that all kind of stuff, and it never sleeps. It just never sleeps. You can go 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock. You can just keep the thing going. So it's a good environment. I will say the debate between the Chicago style and the New York, I've been in the Midwest now over a decade, and I'll say on this program today, and I know the New Yorkers that might be listening saying, "Oh, Sean, you're full of." I enjoy the deep dish. I'm enjoying.
There we go.
I'm on that side. I grew up on obviously New York style pizza, but you can get anything at any moment at any time in New York, which is a very different situation in some of the other cities. But you got to watch yourself. That's the piece that I think me and Jordan have. Having that, that street smart savvy. You fit in well. You saw enough, and you got the heck out of there. That's all you need.
Right.
And I'm with you with that, and I'm with your dad too. He enjoyed the hell out of himself, and I loved the fact that he enjoyed the hell out of himself. I think his son have arrived. His son is a finalist at the Heisman. If you can't get excited for that, You can't get excited, so you can't fault him for that. And he loved every minute of it, and I loved watching him enjoy himself. So, I'm a side with your dad because I enjoyed the whole experience of watching him and watching your mother and just watching your family overall. So it was a great time. It was a great time.
Absolutely.
So I didn't remember this, and I don't know if Jordan, if you'll remember this, but I read, I got out, like I said, all my letters and the things from the Heisman. And one of the things they said was like, we will register your finalist with an alias at the hotel so that autograph seekers don't try to, call up the hotel and claim to be someone and get their room number. Did you have an alias, and do you remember what it was?
I don't remember. I ended up picking out the name?
I don't know. I don't know if they pick it out or like if you
I don't
pick an alias, what would there be something that you would pick?
Oh man.
Well, give me your alias. Come on now.
I'm thinking it's probably not appropriate for this if I was to pick one.
Well, people want to know. Come on.
You don't know, you don't remember what it was, Donna, or
I don't remember.
I
I didn't write that down for some, or maybe they didn't even tell me. I mean, there's a possibility.
I probably would have picked Joe Summons at the time or Bob Cole, to be honest with you. That's probably what I picked.
That would have been great, Joe Summons.
So when did you get the first chance to meet the other finalists? Do you remember kind of encountering them for the first time?
I want to say it was at breakfast. It was at after we got a chance to drop off our bags. I know they kind of started trickling down one at a time. And I ended up building a relationship, with a lot of them. They were all great guys. They all knew who Northern Illinois was. They all knew, what I ended up doing on the stage, which was pretty great because here I am, we play on those weekday games on Tuesdays and Thursday nights. And here they are, staying up to watch those games, which was great. And here I am on Saturday at 11 a.m. watching them on ABC, so I was a true fan of those guys and their talents. And, it was great to see that, they were watching NIU football and knew who we were and knew who I was. It was great though, but they all seemed to be down to earth. They were all fun kids, to hang around with and build that relationship with. And, it was great. And I ended up spending some time with a few of those guys at the combine and playing in some all-star games with them also. So.
Cool. Just to remind everyone, the other finalists, and I think we had a picture of him, it was Johnny Manziel from Texas A&M, who had won the Heisman the previous year.
Yep.
And then, of course, Jameis Winston, Andre Williams from Boston College, Trey Mason from Auburn, and then A.J. McCarron from Alabama, who actually did not arrive, I think, until the day of the event because he had won an award the previous night or something like that.
Right. Yeah, they were all great. They were all great, down to earth, people to be around and, made me feel welcome. It was a great group to hang out with. We got some little time when we weren't getting pulled left and right, by the media doing things, but some time just to sit down on the bus and talk to them. It was definitely a great experience.
Yep, it was definitely cool to be in that group and for Northern Illinois to be like that. And Sean, did you get a lot of feedback from your cohorts and people that that were in New York at that time?
Yeah, it was interesting. I was able to see a number of folks, right? Connection from my alma mater and just all that. And I would echo with what Jordan said. There's a lot of respect, for Jordan. I think the platform that ESPN gave in the midweek games really turned it up because they were able to watch all of our games. And so there was immediate respect, kind of going back to the Heisman Trust, right? So talking to the guys the night before and knowing a couple of guys that were there and ADs and folks that were coming into town, they were in awe, of Jordan. Jordan's story, pretty phenomenal. I think the last a non-so-called Power 5 guy, you know, they were talking about Gordy Lockbaum. Here's a name for you, right? As far as guys back in the day, they were talking about guys that were just straight up warriors. And they were saying about Jordan is that his skill sets and what he was able to do on the field, that he was an impact player. So yeah, so there was a lot of gamesmanship and different things like that, you know, and I like to brag on them, you know what I'm saying? Well, you know, gosh, you guys came all the way out here for nothing. You know, this is really good. I appreciate you supporting your guy, but our guy's good. You know what I'm saying? We're feeling comfortable. You know, it's a lot of jockeying and stuff, but there was a mutual amount of respect. And it was so happy that, you know, that they knew everything he did. They knew his resume. They knew what was going on. And the immediate respect was, you know, it was vindicating on that. And it was also good to see that everyone was having a good time. You know, it was just a good feeling during that environment, which was the who's who of football. That's basically what you were involved with. You know, every way that you look, even the day of the ceremony, there was everybody that was around, that was associated with football, was there at that event. And you fit in nicely and definitely had the respect from everyone.
And then, you know, Saturday, like you mentioned, there were a couple interviews in the morning that they took you to the ESPN DirecTV bus and did one interview, and then they took you guys over to the CBS Sports studio to do the pregame and halftime, I think, of the Army Navy game. So you got to do that. And then they had the rehearsal, which is the first time you went into what was then, I don't know if it still is now, called the Best Buy Theater, where the ceremony was going to be held. So do you know, just describe, Jordan, the first time when you saw the theater, and, you know, the pictures of all the Heisman winners kind of were posted up there, and it was kind of cool to go in there, not for the show, but in a more relaxed setting for the first time.
Absolutely. It was, you know, growing up, I don't think I've ever missed a Heisman ceremony. You know, I always watched them all. And just to be in that, you know, that Best Buy theater at the time, people don't realize how small that theater actually is. You know, it's not like we got, you know, how many tickets did we end up getting? It's not like we get 100 tickets and I get to bring everybody with us, you know. There's a select few of people that we get to bring with us with how small it is.
It's less than 100, I would say, right? Donna, if that's maybe.
That's what it felt like, because I know they told us we had 10 people that we could bring, and that included.
And we were all cramped in there now. We were jammed in there, and that's a good point, Jordan. It was a small environment. Yeah.
It's but just being backstage, and I don't know if it was the rehearsal the night of the ceremony itself, but I remember meeting you know, Doug Flutie was back there, Eric Crouch, who I, you know, grew up watching and loved playing. Who else was there?
Barry Sanders.
Dennis Yep. Barry Sanders was there. Yeah, I sat next to Barry Sanders. You know, during the whole ceremony, it was great to see those guys and just to, you know, be up close with them and talk to them and, you know, share stories and ask them questions. You know, it was, like I said, it was surreal, that's for sure. And just being on the stage and how things are run, you know, it's such a great experience. And, you know, it's almost one of those things you almost have to be there to know what goes on, you know.
I think we all got a little starstruck at some point by someone who we ran into, or someone that I mean, even in the Marriott Marquis, you might've been in an elevator with, you know, with a Heisman winner just going
right
somewhere, and you're like, that's you know, that's
absolutely.
So Sean, you had a story about someone who you know, people were starstruck by perhaps Mrs. Frazier.
Oh my God. So Jordan, I don't know if I told you this. This is kind of throwing this out. I'm looking behind my shoulder to see if my but you know, my wife went to Walsh University, and her crush was Doug Flutie. Mm-hmm. So you could see we're in the reception with your dad and your mom, and you know, you're getting prepped. You're in the behind getting all the press and all that. So we're in that reception before we go into the theater, and Doug Flutie walks out. And I told Rose I'm going to go on tonight with you, and I'm going to say this. So at least I'm not going to get in trouble after this broadcast. But her eyes lock on to Doug Flutie, and it was like that. Sean, that's Doug Flutie. Yeah, I got it. I got you, Rose. You got to get me a picture with Doug Flutie. I said, okay. And your dad's over there. I'll get it. I'll get it. And I'm like, okay. So we track him down, stalk him, and we get the picture with Doug Flutie. It's interesting because behind him is my crush, my man, Barry Sanders. Because I'm looking at Barry Sanders. I'm saying, that's Barry Sanders. I have not met Barry Sanders. So again, it was waves. It's to your point, Jordan. It was wave after wave of football royalty that was coming through this reception, and all knowing your name, all knowing what you've done. And it was interesting to be associated. For that one moment, you made everybody happy. Doug Flutie, Barry Sanders, everybody. But it was a real special time for everyone, because it was just, you saw these people that you would normally see, and to Donna's point, in the hotel, it actually rained that night. People were getting wet. No one cared. It was the Heisman, and everybody was just happy for you, and also to be a part of the whole atmosphere. But yeah, that was that little Doug Flutie. I always kind of needle her a lot. I said, man, Doug Flutie, how's that working for you? I got my photo right here, Sean. I'm good. Look at that. Dad sent the picture to her. It was a fantastic. He took one too, by the way.
No, of course.
Was there anyone that, besides Bo Jackson, Jordan, that you were like that? Like, oh, there's so-and-so.
Yeah, I mean, let's just stay on the topic with, Barry Sanders. I got a chance to get to know him, and he sat with me the whole time. He was kind of the guy that sat to the right of me there in the ceremony. People look, you see people on TV growing up and everything. And when you get up close to them, sometimes you don't realize how small or actually how big someone actually is. In Barry Sanders' case, how small Barry Sanders is. And he's one of the greatest running backs of all time, So it's one of those two where you see guys like that and it almost gives you hope, It gives you hope in a sense. But he was great. He's kind of a reserved, quiet guy, very humble, doesn't like to talk about himself a lot, but it was great to sit next to him. It's a dream come true.
I got to read this. Joe sent in another note on the chat, and he said, the proudest moment of my career was seeing you on that stage. I welled up with tears when I saw you go there. To play a very small part in helping you get there is very satisfying.
Yeah, thank you, Joe.
A lot of people had that feeling.
No, absolutely. But kind of like I hit on before, Donna, you and Joe and your media relation team, to put everything together and all the hard work you guys did. You guys are the one who made it possible, to be honest with you. So thank you.
No, I second Joe's thing. It was awesome. It was really amazing. And I agree, sitting there in that theater and, just having that experience, with you, having you there, I've been to the Heisman before, kind of like Sean at another school, and one of my guys won it, and that was cool, so I got to shout out Charlie Ward, but to get there how we did it from Northern Illinois,
it's like Sean said, we did it the hard way. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But you did it in the way that you earned it. And it was interesting to kind of hear the people that were there quoting your stats, knowing what you've done, saw what you did with the ball. It was great. If you're an NIU fan, you really enjoyed the level of discussion about how you got there. It was no fluke. And it was great because these folks are very knowledgeable about football. This is not about, okay, we just had to do, no. What you did is create a legacy for quarterbacks at NIU. it's a hell of a bar now, my friend. And I know you know that. And let me dote on you a little bit. But your stats and what you did in carrying the team and leading by example. And it was great to kind of talk to people who know football. No bull crap. You know what I'm saying? Let's call it what it is. You might not like me, but I know football. And at the end of the day, these guys know football. And they knew exactly what you did. And you have arrived and you put, quite frankly, NIU at that level. So that I was excited for that because I was like, ooh, this you earned it, my brother. God bless you.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's that's the other thing going to the Heisman. Like you can't be 2-11 going there. We had our work cut out for us. We opened up with Iowa and we played Purdue and Donna, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we're the only MAC team to be 2 Big Ten teams in 1 year, right? I don't know if that still stands.
We were at that time.
We're at that time.
Joined us, yes.
Right. So we had we had 2 Big Ten teams. Ended up winning.
We still are. Trust me.
Yeah. We were the first one.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. I had to correct her on that. Correct.
Yeah. So winning those, going 12 straight games because with everything going on and launching this thing, the only way we knew it was possible if we have to win games. We have to win games, and we had a great team coming back. And we had a lot of great playmakers, but we had to win games. And that's what we did. We racked up 12 straight victories, and that's what we did. And it was great. That's for sure.
We did have a question from the chat. Was there any one game or one time that really during that season that is one of your favorite games or your favorite memory?
Beating Iowa at Iowa. I'm a kid that grew up in Chicago, right? I wanted to be a Big Ten player. You grow up in Big Ten country, kind of growing up, and all those schools, the Purdue, the Iowas, the Illinois that passed on me. And here I am. I ended up at Northern Illinois because I was too small, too short, or whatever it was. Anytime you got a chance to play a Big Ten team or any school that passed up on you, and going into their house and beat them, it's always a great feeling. So just to kick off that 2013 season and beating Iowa at Iowa was a pretty special moment.
And then when did
hold on, Don.
Go ahead.
Let's just savor that. That was a hell of a win. That was my first win as AD. Okay. But to do it the way you did it, was unbelievable. First of all, it was remember that game? Blazing heat. We had Huskies fainting. It was, let me tell you something. Think about that game now. That game was hot as hell. We had dominated. They were coming back. You turned it on. The passes were where they were. It was a classic example of, hey, taking over the game and offense, defense, special teams, it was sealed with an interception. The game was sealed with an interception, but the offensive unit and you specifically made that happen. There was some things that went on in that game. I watched that game now, looking at dissecting, too deep and all the things that you did. I'm saying, shit, this guy here, he was on fire. You know what I'm saying? And you didn't have a cast around you. So I get that. But the way that you marshaled the offense and kept that going, it was a hell of a game. It really was.
Right. And, it was 110 degrees on the field. I remember going into halftime, we all switched our jerseys to get a new fresh white jersey on because we were soaked. Everyone took off their shoulder pads, their jerseys, their helmets. And you just kind of had to sit there and just recover because, you're playing Iowa at Iowa. They're not going away, and going into that game, a lot of people would consider us, the underdog and look at us that way. But we knew we were going in there and there was only one way out. We knew with the team we had, we knew with the leadership we had and the guys coming back. And, you had the Jimmy Wards on defense and the whole D line with, Alan Baxter, Joe Windsor, Anthony Wells. We knew what we were capable of doing. And to be honest with you, we knew we were going in there and we knew we were coming out with a victory. That was the only way we're leaving that field. we were a confident group. We were, well coached, and that was our swag. That was our mentality. That was our moxie throughout the year. No one can stop us. And we, it might not be pretty for 3 quarters, but you're going to have to play with us for the whole 4 quarters. And it's kind of how it was, games were close at half, or we got out to a fast start and kind of, throttled down a little bit, but we always kicked it back on in the 4th quarter. In Iowa, they knew they had their hands full. I remember pulling up to Iowa Stadium, and this is funny. We're about a mile out on the road, and it was so hot, but it was planned by Iowa. I'm telling you, they had guys laying out on the road like this, just like they were dying of heat exhaustion with a bike laying on the street. Like it was so hot. They were trying to play these little mind games, and they got the pink locker rooms.
I hate
things like that.
I hate that locker room. That's like I was going to bring. I'm so glad you brought that up. It makes you mad. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It makes you mad. So again, what you just said, you did it the hard way, and you guys, this is what we do. In the 4th quarter, we close it down, and you were true to who you were, and you took care of business. So I'm so glad that first game set the tone for the rest of the season. There's no question.
Set the tone for the rest of the season. Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
Back to the show. Let's talk about, were you nervous? Like when you were going out on the stage and it's the actual live show. Do you remember feeling any nerves, or did Chris Fowler, give you any tips about what they were going to ask you about or anything like that?
Oh, I would imagine I was nervous. Anytime you're on a stage like that and you can't see the crowd because the lights are so bright, you can't even feel yourself thinking. It's definitely nerve-wracking, especially with everyone watching the Heisman ceremony, right? You got millions of people watching this thing, and you got to be careful on what you say, this or that. And here I am, saying Chicago pizza is better than New York pizza on stage. I throw Giordano's out there and try to get a little sponsorship. I try to work that in there. But it was great. Then, all the questions were, they were great questions. They kind of prepped you before it all. So, the things that go on behind, on the commercials when Fowler talks to you and he kind of preps you. So it was good. It was all good stuff.
Fun. Yep. I was seated behind AJ McCarron's girlfriend. She was rather infamous, right? Because of her, she was famous and a model and whatever. And I received a text during the show from my nephew. What does her hair smell like?
Her hair smell like? I remember you telling me that. That's great.
He saw me on the thing and said, "What does Catherine Webb's hair smell like?" And I just crack up because I
imagine you got a lot of TV time then.
Yeah, I must have. So
we sat next to each other, didn't we, Donna? I'm trying to figure out.
I think we did, yeah. And then I think some of our other group was a little farther back. Yeah. But I do remember, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, but after they announced, Jameis Winston as the winner, we went back to the Marriott Marquis to do a little more media because we had some Chicago, Rockford, Daily Chronicle. We had some of our local media there, so they wanted to do the post. You were mad. You were not happy.
Right. Anything I do to this day, if I do something, whether it's workout class, this or that, I want to be the best at it and I want to win. That's how I'm built. That's it. I'm not going there to clap my hands because I got 3rd place. I remember my dad being pissed too. It's we were going there to win. We found out the news, until he read it and we heard Jameis Winston, there's little disappointment. We were pissed. We wanted to win it. So it probably took me a few hours to cool off, this or that. But anything I do to this day, I'm going there and I want to win. It's that simple. I don't live in the gray area. We're winning it and that's it. So I'd rather came in last place, to be honest with you, than came in 3rd. It's either 1st place or that's it.
Yeah, but you were the highest MAC finisher ever in the Heisman. And like we said, that was no easy feat. That was something. And whatever the campaign was nothing without what you did on the field and what you and the team, like you said, what we were able to do during that kind of magical time of that 12 and 13 years. And it's a great accomplishment. And I know, hopefully you're not still mad. I hope you get back and say, that was it's darn good.
I'm also smart enough to realize that us being there alone was a huge win for our program, right? It was a huge win to get us all that national attention on the stage. And, there's so many factors that go into it, but it's a huge win just being there, So I am also smart enough to realize that for sure.
And I know Sean does too, realize what that meant to the school.
No, I kind of doted on him. I don't want his head to get too damn big up in there.
Yeah, please.
But I love him. It was great because after the ceremony, we walked back. We had some time to kind of debrief with your parents, your wife. By the way, your wife. She's your wife now. No matter what, there's no girlfriend, there's no fiance.
Right.
Wife. So always reference her now as your wife, regardless of.
I was actually thinking about that. I'm like, I can't.
Married man, I will tell you, I will help you. I know you love her.
Yeah, thank you.
It's all washed away. But
it's live. We can't edit that part, can we?
Yeah, no. Unfortunately, you can't.
Yeah, but I hear her downstairs right now.
Oh God! But it was good to sit down. I remember we were in this lobby atmosphere, and we were just kind of eating and talking. And yeah, you're right. You have every right to be disturbed, right? Because the way I look at it, you want it. Looking at what you did, what you accomplished. But it was just good to bask in it, to be perfectly honest with you. And you get to know your family more and to know your upbringing, your grit, your determination. But you're right. You NIU had arrived, and deservingly so. Okay. So it was just good, to be involved with that environment at that time. And to watch you guys and, to see the recognition that you deserved. And so the good news is that there was recognition. Okay. The bad news is, okay, you didn't win it. But at the end of the day, people took notice and saw what you did, academically and athletically. And, that's some good stuff, man. There's a lot of folks sitting at home looking at that saying, oh, damn, nobody invited me to the Heisman. You know what I'm saying? So that's something they can never take away from you, my brother. This is something I know, and I know you're very proud of it. But, for the university, you have put us on the map. So I'm excited to just had a chance to experience it. I'm humbled to kind of watch it and to have that interaction. So that was just
yeah, that's a great first year for you, huh?
Oh,
it's a great first year.
It was unbelievable. I remember getting called. It was interesting to talk to some past Heismans that they were saying, "Hey, that's your guy." You know what I'm saying? From another institution, he called me up and said, "Hey, your guy's legit." I said, "Yeah."
I groomed him. Yeah, I groomed him.
I just said, well, did you just step into that? So yeah, just stepped into that. It's all good. He was ready to go. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, it was good to talk to a couple of guys who had won it and knew all your records, knew all what you did. And it was good to kind of put the chest out too, to say, yeah, this kid deserves it. Yeah. What he did and how he did it. And they both agreed. They said, you know what? Wow, he's legitimate, because I had a chance to watch you on the platform. So I never give props to, our midweek games. It's always a struggle, right? I will give props because people did see and had a chance to watch your games, in totality. I talked to coaches, ADs, media. We had a chance. You were put on blast during this time. So there was some victories that were just, gladiator-ish. I'm talking about there was some knockout, drag out. And like you said, Jordan, winning winning the many games that we did, the way we did it, that's tough because everybody's coming after you every week. And that's something
Absolutely.
I do know about, is understanding that when they coming after you every week, and they came after you, man. You played with, I can say this now, broken ribs. You did all kind of stuff, man. You know, and you have a heart of a champion. People don't know those stories. And that's why we did this type of situation. You play with pain, grit, determination. So it's great to see that it ended in New York. You know, that was a great story, man. It's a great story.
Absolutely. And the thing I didn't really hit on during this whole thing is the fan base too throughout the year was awesome. You know, I remember going out, we played, I don't know if we played Idaho, Donna, week 2 or week 3 or whenever it was, but you're coming off a big game. So you play Iowa, and just, you know, on some of those clips you guys have been showing, look at all the red in that stands. You know, look at the fan base that traveled to Iowa to watch us play and to watch us win. Then when we celebrate and sing the fight on their field, there's feeling to the Kibbe Dome. And I don't know if you guys ever, you know, obviously down there, but that Kibbe Dome, almost, you know, there's only 500 people there at times. And a lot of them NIU fans. You know, there was tons of NIU fans that traveled out to the Kibbe Dome to watch us play. Then you get those Tuesday and Thursday night games. There was everybody coming out. There was young kids. There was bus loads of kids coming out and watching, you know, our product on the field and watching us play. But it was great. The fan support throughout the whole year, no matter, like I said, where we were playing, they were always out there to support us and first people to greet us off the bus. So it was great. The fan base was awesome.
Yeah, they had the signs. We had the Lynch for 6. We had the during the Maction, you know, everyone was all over the place, and they couldn't help but notice. And you made sure they couldn't help but notice. You know, this has been just awesome. And Jordan, again, we can't thank you enough, you know, not just for tonight, but also for what you did, as Sean has said, for NIU and for this university for all those years. And, you know, you'll always be among the right up there as one of the greats Huskies of all time for what you accomplished. And we're so, you know, proud of you. And you know what, you're just the same guy, which is the other thing I love about you is, you know, I talked to you last week and it could have been that the Heisman was a month ago, because you're just the same guy. And I just appreciate you and want to thank you. And finally, you know, I want to give everyone a chance to say final thoughts, but I also want to remind everyone, Sean, about the remainder of the virtual Victor E. Bash here that we have still to come for another next week, last all through next week. On Monday night, we have Huskies in the Pros segment that is going to premiere right here on YouTube, and that's going to be a great event. You're going to want to watch Larry English and Michael Turner and Max Sharping and Chad Beebe, along with Coach Thomas Hammock. So be sure to tune in for that. Wednesday, we have the virtual wine and spirits poll. You can go to victorybash.givesmart.com and put in your bid for one of the bottles of wine or spirits. That is kind of a raffle deal. So, and anyone can take part. And then really cool to have Joe Novak providing commentary on the 2003 football win over Maryland. We've got the full game. We've got Coach Novak's commentary, and it's going to be a watch party. You're going to want to take part in that. And just, you know, it's going to be a great night, kind of just like we've had tonight of great Heisman memories. I know so many people remember that Maryland game. And then we're going to wrap it up with the auction and everything ending next Friday night, a week from tonight. And it's all, Sean, to support student athletes who we can support that go on to have the success like Jordan has.
Yeah, there's no question about it. So great lineup, just like tonight. And again, part of our Victory Bash segment. Again, this type of engagement, I got to tell you, this is some of the best content that we've ever had. So we will probably be keeping this on. You're talking about the new normal. this will be the new normal. I can talk all night with Jordan about those memories. There are some things that I probably can't talk about publicly because they'll get me in trouble. But it's great to talk to him, and quite frankly, his legacy. There's not many institutions that have, a Heisman finalist and someone who has done what he's done at an institution. So I want to say again, Jordan, thank you so much for what you have done and what you continue to do for NIU. It means so much to us.
Yeah, thank you guys. Donna, Sean, thanks for having me on. And once again, I can't thank you guys enough for everything you guys done for me and continue to do for me. But especially that 2013 season, kind of putting myself and putting the NIU program on the map. And it was some very special years, and I can't thank you enough. And my family says thank you also. For kind of making their dream come true. Because, like I said, my parents lived and loved that Heisman ceremony, and my wife loved it also. So thank you guys. It's been real. It's been fun. So thank you.
Awesome. Keep in touch. We know you will. And thanks to all the fans for joining us. And look forward to much more to come. Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Good. Take care. Have a great weekend. Take care, Jordan. God bless you, baby.